we have a chapter called Responsible Blitzscaling, which is another of our goals in doing this book was to say, well, there's this set of techniques, get them to as many areas in the world that don't understand this. And China does this, we call it the land of blitzscaling. But like other, Europe and other places in the US to say, create more places like Silicon Valley. But there's another function of it, which is how do we upgrade our practice within Silicon Valley? What are the things that we're learning about which things go wrong and go badly? And so we said, well, from the very beginning, when you're at the employee stage of ones, the family stage, tens, the tribe stage, hundreds, the village stage, from the very early stage, you should start thinking about these kinds of risks. You shouldn't necessarily slow down, but you should be trying to do every reasonable thing you can to prevent these kinds of risks. So one category was like serious risk to individuals, mortal risk. So, I wrote an essay about, the problems with Theranos on this, because the question of blood tests, super important. Misleading blood tests could lead to potentially catastrophic health outcomes. That's not the kind of thing you mess around with. Another one is a lot of impact to a lot of people. If you're doing a moderate amount of damage, like for example, it caused a whole bunch of people to lose their savings, that's a problem, right? Like it may not cause them to be homeless or anything else, but you should avoid that, right, as an outcome, and you should be preventative on it. And then systemic impact, you break the system, you break the financial system, you break something else. Like those things you should say, we should pre-invest to make sure that we never get there. And part of that is to say, okay, now that next generation of blitzscaling companies, that as you begin to go into this, you say, well, we move to a multi-threaded organization, we should start hiring one person and then more people in part of the multi-threaded organization whose responsibility is to identify these kinds of risks for us proactively and try to steer in a way that we don't hit them, that we don't cause that kind of social implication. And now, some of them are just kind of challenging. Like if you're Facebook, even if I had been doing Facebook, would I have thought, oh, the Russians are going to try to hack our political system through this? Like that's not in your, that's what the intelligence services are for. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah,
now,
to start.
Now the question is, okay, we've now moved to social infrastructure. What are the things we should be doing to try to make healthier social dynamics versus unhealthy social dynamics? That's the kind of thing to add in. That's the kind of thing to be responsible as you're going, and to think not only do we have individuals as customers, we have society as a customer. Now, what is the way that we think about that and proactively address that is something that essentially all blitzscaling companies should think about from their beginning through, and then add in staff to that as they're going. And now, of course, what we see happening with Facebook is they have an election integrity group. They have groups trying to work on how do we have the right kind of positive impact on society without trying to take a side in the red versus blue political dogfight, and that they're investing in that. And that's the kind of thing that you want to see.